What's up, party people? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Thank you guys so much for being here. You guys know I go around this planet finding the best humans on it to come on here, grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. So I found someone, y'all. His name is Eric Twiggs, and he's an author, a podcaster, a life and business coach, a founding partner, and the president of the What Now movement. And his mission is to build high-performing entrepreneurs, authors, and career professionals who are prepared for life's unexpected curveballs. Now, I know you guys because you guys are constantly pouring out and DMing and all that great stuff. So I know this is your guy, and he's going to download you with some great stuff. So, Eric, welcome to Straight Talk. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I always tell my audience, I come at you with some energy around this place. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And you know what I like to do, Eric? I like to have my audience know a little bit more about you. So I always ask, who are you, Eric? And I know those questions are always like, oh my God, who answers that question, right? But Eric, who are you? Tell us a little bit more about you.
So I'm your procrastination prevention partner. I'm the author of The Discipline of Now, and I'm the host of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. And I help entrepreneurs to beat procrastination so they can make more money, get more done, and feel more confident.
Woo, you got your job cut out for you, young man. Woo! Everybody procrastinating nowadays. At least that's how I feel, right? I mean, I'm a director of this organization, right? It's super, super fun. I do culinary operations, and it has, it seems like it's maybe getting a little bit better, but it was super hard finding really people who wanted to work, first of all, right? And secondly, that they would put their whole heart into what they're doing. And I don't know, people kept telling me, maybe you're just old school, Neen, maybe you're just old school. So Eric, you got some work cut out for you, and I'm glad that you made a podcast around it, because people need to hear what you got to say. So where did that come from, though, that procrastinating? Was it something that you saw in your life, or something that you saw throughout that you were like, okay, this isn't working?
So for me, it started in college, and there was this one thing that happened to me that really is the reason we're talking. It was my senior year at Hampton University, and I'm having this conversation with my good friend Donnell. I'll talk about this in the book. Donnell and I, we were a little different. Like, he was all about his purpose, and I was all about the party. And he'd always give me a hard time, Eric, you need to really get serious and stay focused on what it is that you want to do. And I'm like, man, loosen up. We have plenty of time for all that serious stuff. Are you coming to the frat party with me or not? So several weeks go by. I don't hear from him. We don't talk. But then I get a phone call from his mother informing me of the fact that he was killed in a car accident.
Oh, no. That's terrible.
Changed everything. It sent me a message that maybe I don't have the time that I think to do the things that I want to do. And just really ever since that moment, I've been focused on overcoming procrastination, being as productive as possible, and managing time effectively.
You know what's really powerful about that, Eric, is that as you were talking, my brain always calculates things, and I realized that you could have went another way too. You could have also said, well, he was all straight and always going for not being procrastinator, and it didn't work for him, so why should I? Right? I mean, there's always like these forks in the road in our life, right? That we can choose one or the other, right? I'm glad that you chose that path, right? The other path probably would have worked out well as well. It just probably wouldn't have had you where you are today. So when you decided that, wow, you know what? I don't really have much time, right? How did you shift your mindset? Like, was that something that just like that impact made that happen in your life? Or was it something you had to really work on?
So I thought the message was that, I needed to make as much money as possible and chase success and climb the corporate ladder. So really, that was that was always in the back of my mind, that time is short, life is short. So I need to climb this ladder as fast as possible. Right. So that's what I thought the message was. And I got to a point where I was a district manager. I had 17 locations in automotive repair facilities. I had 500 employees. We're winning all of these awards. If you looked at me, you'd have said, wow, he's successful. I'll never forget, there was this one particular day, I'm driving in my car and I've got a nice little BMW, And I look in the rearview mirror, and the eyes looking back at me were the eyes of someone who hated what he was doing.
Mm,
So it's
that's
not
powerful.
right, right. So I was focused on income, but I was struggling because I really wasn't making an impact.
Mm,
And so I
wow.
really I didn't have the lesson all figured out like I thought I did. I thought it was all about, oh,
Yeah.
I need to make all this money, but really it was about purpose
Right.
and
Right.
finding meaning.
So what was the purpose in finding meaning? I mean, was it just the procrastination or was this a journey for you as well? Like what was that? How did you even start that? See, I love those Genesis moments, right? Those moments in our life where we really do not just think about a decision, but actually do the decision, the action part of it, right? So when you looked at yourself and you said, man, I don't even like me. I don't even know who I am. Like, because that happens to a lot of us, right? Did you decide to like shift careers? Did you decide to what was that moment for you? What did you decide? Like after that look in the mirror, what happened?
Great question. So I had to figure out what it was that I wanted to do. And I started
Mhm.
to realize I didn't really know. So I had to do some deep thinking, and I started
Mhm.
to reflect on, when were the times I really felt fulfilled, jazzed, alive, and it always went back to when I was presenting or speaking. And so, like, I had this time in my career where I was a corporate trainer, and I
Mhm.
just remember loving that job. And just I would say after I did a presentation, man, I could just do this all the time. This is great.
Mhm.
Then I went on and got promoted and all this other stuff, but uh, but it always came back to public speaking for me. So then finally,
Okay.
after like 3 years of procrastination, I joined Toastmasters.
Oh
And that
yeah.
was the first step. But I procrastinated because I got to a point where I said, I think I need to I'm feeling led to become a professional speaker.
Mhm.
But then
Mhm.
I started hearing the negative voices. Okay, well, who do you think you are, Les Brown? What are you going to say that
Right.
hasn't been
Right.
said already? And all of that.
Right.
Who's going to pay you? So I went through all of that, procrastinated for a while, but finally I took the step of joining Toastmasters International, and then one step led to another, and here we are.
That's awesome. So the procrastination part was something that you saw that was prevalent in your life more than well, I guess a little bit mixed in with like maybe some imposter syndrome in there and some doubtfulness of yourself, right? And all of that stuff. So you had to really take action in order to stop procrastinating, right? So tell us a little bit because you said that a lot of this is in your book or the story with your friend is in your book. So I'm assuming the What Now movement is it. I know that you're the president, the partner, and founder, and all of that. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your book. Why do these projects? What's the goal here?
So to start with the book, the whole goal is to heighten people's awareness of
Mm-hmm.
procrastination. That's really the big takeaway of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have a useful tool that people could use, because I got frustrated when I would try to look at other procrastination books, because it was a lot of the same information. It was a lot of,
Right.
oh yeah, you have to wake up early, don't check your
Right.
email after this time, just a lot of the same information.
Yeah.
So
Right.
so I wanted to have something that was customized depending on your personality type
Oh, that's
and
good.
just
That's
some
good.
other things. So that's why I created the book. Because so the thing is people say all the time, "Oh, Eric, I always procrastinate." That's not true. Like, I've yet to meet someone who procrastinates in every area of their life.
Right.
Right? It's contextual.
Facts.
So yeah.
Right.
So I
Facts.
know people who they're on point at work, but they procrastinate on things at home, and then vice versa. So
Right.
the book is designed to really heighten your awareness to what it is that's triggering you to
Mm,
procrastinate, because it's all about awareness.
right. It always does come down to that, doesn't it, Eric? It's always self-awareness is where it begins. It all begins there. So tell me
Absolutely.
something. How do you feel about motivation? So how do you feel about motivation versus procrastination? And do you think they're the same? Do you think you need one for the other? How do you feel about that?
I do think if you're not motivated, it will cause you to procrastinate. And
Mhm.
I do think there is a time and place for motivation. But
Mhm.
I think really it's really about inspiration.
Oh, that's
Inspiration
good.
is what's really going to, because motivation can kind of wear off.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Right.
yeah, at some point you're not always going to be motivated, but
Right.
being inspired is more of a long-term thing.
Mhm.
And I,
Mhm.
I think a lot of it, the key thing is really getting clear. This is an issue I struggle with. I talk about this in the book. Is really being clear on purpose, right? Because when you
Right.
really know what it is you're supposed to do, then that provides you that internal inspiration to really move forward. And you find you
Mhm.
don't need the alarm clock to wake up.
Right. Do you think it's habitual? Do you think you know, doing what you're doing with people to help them like move forward, stop procrastinating, do you think that's a habit forming? Do you have to be habitual in order to stop procrastinating?
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so you just hit on something. I mean, procrastinating in and of itself is a habit, right?
Mm.
And,
Oh,
and
that's
it's
good.
the
Yeah.
key is that it's not an identity. Because I see
Mhm. Mhm.
people always say, I am a procrastinator. You have to be
That's
careful with
true.
that. Because if you say I
That's
am,
true.
whatever comes after that, you're more likely to do.
Right.
It's an identity statement, right? Just
Right.
because you
Right.
procrastinated yesterday ended last night. You can decide to do something different today. And it's
That's
about
so good.
forming other habits. And,
Right.
and, and that's really being aware and forming other habits, and you can move forward.
I love that because your book is called The Discipline of Now, right? The
Yes,
Discipline of Now, right? The 12 Principles of Overcoming Procrastination. So people need to be picking something up. They need to stop procrastinating and pick up
that's
the
right.
book, right?
Don't put it off.
You need to like tell people that don't be procrastinating. You better pick up that book. So that's awesome. I really love that you're doing that. I think that's a really big key that a lot of us entrepreneurs need to be focusing on, is what we procrastinate on, because a lot of things we procrastinate on is the things we don't like to do, right? But are things that are necessary. And that's why I asked you about, like the habitual thing. And I love that you use the inspired thing, because that is very true. And a lot of us who are in the field of either coaching or writing or any of that, you do need to be inspired. You do. But it's also super important, right? To do the things you don't like to do because they need to be done. And maybe you can form that habit. So it's not even something you don't like to do anymore, but something you just do,
Yeah,
right?
and it's something else on that. A lot of times, people make the mistake of trying to wait until they feel motivated. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't feel motivated, so I'm
Right.
not going to do it. But sometimes when you move, the motivation will come. And I think
Yeah,
especially if
that's
you're
true.
doing something
That's true.
creative, like if
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
say, "Oh, I have writer's block. I don't feel the motivation." A lot of times when you start moving, when you just start,
Yes.
that's when the ideas start to kick in, and that's where it's almost like
Yes.
the whole thing with the GPS. A lot of times you have to start moving before you start getting direction on where to go.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so
it's the
good.
same thing. That's a
Yeah.
critical point that people need to understand.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Eric, and that's something that I've said to one of my clients, because she was saying, "I have writer's block. I just can't write." I said, "Did you text anybody today?" She's like, she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Do you have any block writing there?" She's like, "Oh
Did you
shoot!"
have
And then
texting block?
right, yeah, exactly. No problem when you wanted to text, but all of a sudden you got writer's block. I'm a straight shooter, Eric. That's just how it is. But tell me about the what now movement. Why did you come up with that? I know that you're working with, high performers and entrepreneurs and authors and things like that. So what is the what now movement?
So we started this in the midst of the pandemic because it was myself. I'm the
That's good.
president, and I have two business partners that are in it with me as well, Ted Fells and Dr. Sharon H. Porter. And we were talking to people in our different networks, and they were all saying a lot of the same things like, yeah, I have this venture in mind, but I'm going to wait until things get back to normal. And we said that's the last thing they need to be saying. They need to
Right.
be asking themselves, what now? And
Right.
then that's
Oh,
when the
that's
light
good.
bulbs went off, and we decided to call it the What Now movement.
Right.
And our mission is to help people to pivot instead of stop, right? Whenever you run into a trouble or a challenge or a setback, you don't
Right.
just stop. You just have to pivot and ask yourself, what now? So we do business summits, master
Hmm.
classes. We do something called Coffee and Conversation on the first Saturday of every month,
Oh yeah.
where we
I've
do
seen that. Hmm.
yeah, we do a presentation. The first Saturday of October, we've got one scheduled as well.
Hmm.
We have videos with it. We've got like 1,700 people
Wow.
within this
Wow.
Facebook group, the What Now movement group. But the whole mission is to inspire people to pivot.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's good. So are you guys you and your partners doing it like almost like free coaching? You're almost like coaching people, right? Like inspiring them and like are you coaching too? Are you doing that as well?
So yeah, I'm a coach. So
Okay.
if people want additional advice, the one-on-one coaching that's available as well. But I mean,
Mhm.
we use
Mhm.
the group in and of itself is we're just providing, we're building an audience, we're
That's good.
providing information, and then
Right.
if people want to take the next step, that's certainly available to them as well.
I love that. I love the name too, the What Now movement, because it does make you think about what now, right? Because I think we keep thinking that we're going to reach this, I don't know, pinnacle of amazingness, whatever we're thinking,
I gotta
right?
write that down. The pinnacle
Yeah,
of amazingness.
yeah, right. And then you like get there and you're like, oh, wait, okay, what now? Right? Because I think there's this illusion in our minds that we're gonna get to this, six figures or seven figures, or we're gonna get to this house, or we're gonna get to this whatever. And then but you never arrive. You never arrive because once you're on your journey, you're picking up other tools, other things in your life that you're going to keep implementing. And then that first big goal that you had, you got there. Now what? Right? So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I think that there's a reason. Here's something I realized that there's only a small percentage of the population that can have all the things that they said that they wanted and still be hungry.
Right.
Like most people, like that, I'm amazed at people like Tom Brady and Michael Jordan and LeBron James because they all each got to a point in their career where they had all the money, all the
Mhm. Mhm.
success, all the accolades,
Mhm.
but they're still the first person at the practice facility and the last one to leave,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's
still
good.
just as hungry.
Mhm.
Most
Mhm.
people would just start relaxing
Yeah.
and go sit
Yeah.
on an island somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you have to really be careful thinking that these external things are it, and it
Yeah.
has to be an internal standard. Just
Yeah.
that pursuit of excellence, trying to get better, trying to constantly improve. That's what will keep you going.
Yeah.
And then doing things for somebody outside of yourself, wanting to leave a legacy, wanting to show an example. Just
Yeah.
because you get to the point where you get the stuff, but is
Yeah.
it really all about the stuff?
Right, right. And that's a really good point. It made me think of as you were talking about Anthony Bourdain, the
Hmm.
chef, right? Because I remember I'm a chef by trade, so I was reading some of his stuff and I remember him saying, I've already hit everything in my career I've wanted to hit. I've traveled the world. I've been on TV. I've done everything I've wanted. Now what? Right. And he hit a, as he hit a wall, unfortunately, and took his life.
It
And
was tragic, yeah.
yeah, it was very tragic. And as I was reading that, I was thinking, now what? You pour that onto someone else's. Now what? You know what I'm saying? You help someone up now. You help them learn now. You pour into some other people. That's the now what, right? I think when we're doing everything, like you said, for the stuff, but sometimes when we're doing everything also just for our own desires and our own goals, it also ends. There's a point where you hit where you're just like, well, okay, well, I got the white picket fence, and I got the house, and I got the 2.5 kids and the dogs and the car and the motorcycle and the boat.
And so here's the other thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, and this is something that I deal with, right? So sometimes you're motivated because you want to prove people wrong.
Yes.
You want to prove the naysayer they said you couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
even that, you get to a point where you've accomplished that.
Right. And they aren't even there looking at you, Eric. They're not even there. Here you are trying to prove a point. I'm like, yeah, I proved it. Where everybody
Right,
at?
right,
Where the
right. So
so
that I
funny.
mean, now
That's so true.
I can see that being kind of a short term shot in the arm
Yeah.
to get you going, but
Yeah.
at some point that's not going to sustain you. And that's why it's good
Yeah.
to have things, something that's bigger than you. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
like if you have kids, I mean, they're watching you, they're watching what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Just finding that, using that as motivation more so than
Yeah.
that proving people wrong.
Right. No, that's true. So Eric, let me ask you, if somebody's listening right now and they truly are struggling with procrastination, right? Because that's a real thing. As you know, right? This is
Yes.
why this is why you based your, career like helping people do this. What is like the first thing you would recommend somebody to do? Like, even if you feel like, they might not call, they might not do whatever, but at least give them like something they can take away from this conversation where they can start maybe today. What would be that thing?
The simplest thing, and I work with this sounds so basic, but it tends to help. Just getting in the habit of making appointments with yourself, right?
Oh, that's good.
So
Give me an
instead of
example.
yeah, so for
Hmm.
example, instead of saying, yeah, I'm gonna write a blog post this week, and then it's Friday at 5 o'clock and you never got around to doing it, you say, I'm gonna go to my home office on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
write the blog post. You use your Google Calendar,
Mm.
and set
Like
off
a
on
literal appointment. Got it.
yeah, and then so
Hmm.
the key thing though is you have the day, the time, and the place that you're going to do it. And the studies
Good.
show
That's good.
that when you put the place you're going to do it, your chances of actually following through are 40% more
Wow.
likely.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that statistic. That's pretty cool. I do appointments with myself all the time, Eric,
Yeah.
because I used to be late to everything, like
Mm-hmm.
everything, right? And so
Right.
everything. And I'll never forget. I started being friends with Lucy. Shout out to you, Lucy. And I'll never forget this. I used to go to her meetings late all the time. And so one day she pulled me to the side. She said, "Can I speak with you?" I said, "Sure." She goes, every time you walk in here late, you are disrespecting me and you are disrespecting the time of the group. And I'm like, and I'm not the type of person that likes to be disrespectful, right? So I'm like, what? And she goes, that is, if I say 7 o'clock and you strolling up in here saying hi to everybody at 7:15, you are completely disrespecting our time, and time is valuable, right? That really changed my life, Eric, because I realized that it was because I was procrastinating, getting out of work, going to go grocery shopping, doing all this other stuff, and procrastinating on getting there on time because I'm like, oh, well, people are late all the time, right? And I don't know if people put those two together, but a lot of times if you're a person that's always showing up late, you're never getting to where you got to be on time. You know what I'm saying? Like those kind of things, you got to look at that too, because you might be procrastinating on some of those issues as well. Holding yourself accountable to stuff like that, right? So I like that you gave that tip to them because it is true. I like what you're saying. I like the setting of your appointment because I do it, but now it's habitual. I didn't even realize that that's what I do, but I do that exact thing. And the fact that you said that your chances are even bigger if you put a place, that's really good because it's more than just general, right? You're being
Right.
very specific.
Right.
That's good.
and
That's
and you
good.
you have to treat the appointment like you're meeting with a VIP. Like let's
Mhm.
say if you look up to Oprah Winfrey, right? Let's say,
Mhm.
and you're meeting Oprah on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. You're not gonna just stand Oprah up, right? You
Right.
wouldn't do that. But why would
Right.
you do that to yourself?
Right. Right. And you're with you all the time.
Right. You're
You
more
can you
important to yourself than
you
Oprah is.
exactly. And
Yeah.
you actually got you with you, right? That's so funny. But that's really, really good. So, Eric, is there anything that someone who is like thinking about shifting maybe into entrepreneurship, maybe shifting into, I know that you work with authors as well, shifting into writing or something. Is there something that you found in your life as you were doing this that was really like a pinnacle point, like a key point for you to shift into entrepreneurship or shifting, because you said that when you were looking at yourself in the mirror, you didn't like what you were doing and you pivoted, right? So what would be that like one thing you would tell us to do to look at a pivot or to start to pivot?
The key thing is don't allow perfect to become the enemy of
Oh, that's
progress.
good. That's good.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
Because
Yeah.
I'm a type A personality.
Yeah.
I can be a perfectionist,
Yeah.
and a lot of times though perfectionism is just stalling, and it's
Mm,
you're
procrastinating.
procrastinating really. But
Ah, so
but
true.
don't focus on having it all. So you say, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Well, I don't have a business plan. I don't have this. I don't know. I don't even know. No.
Yeah.
What's the next step you can take?
Right, right,
Right.
right. That's
And
good.
it could be as simple as if you want to get in the cake business, there's somebody in the cake business that you can associate with. You can
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
and start talking to.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you don't have to jump all at once. Just again, don't allow perfect. That's what held me back. That's why
Yeah.
I procrastinated. That
That's
just
so good.
what's the next step?
That's so good. I also, as you were saying that, I realized too that, well, I always say this anyway. Every coach needs a coach. Every person needs a coach. I really believe that, because I think that somebody holding you accountable or just nudging you along a bit, even those who have their stuff in order, where they're maybe not procrastinators, still sometimes you need a different point of view. You need somebody to kind of show you something a little bit differently. So I do believe that people need someone in their corner, whether it's a mentor, a coach, a good friend that's maybe a little bit ahead of you, that kind of stuff. So I'm really glad you said that. So as far as starting the cake business, right, or whatever that step is, do you also like believe in like these free resources out there and things like that? Do you feel that it's better to maybe, like you said, align yourself with somebody who's already ahead of you in this thing? How do you feel about that kind of stuff? Because this is why I'm asking. I'll set it up. The reason I'm asking it is because when I first started to get into the coaching business, it's been a little over a year. I've been spiritually leading people for like maybe 15 years. And then I decided recently to pivot into what I do. I was very overwhelmed, Eric, by the amount of information that was thrown at me, right? Because of all of the emails coming in. Oh, let me help you do this. Let me help you do that. So, how do we navigate that? Do you believe in like starting maybe at a free resource or something like that, or do you believe that somebody should just kind of go ahead, invest in themselves, and jump right in with a mentor or coach?
Well, I think it helps to get into the arena of the business.
Go
Like
ahead.
you can start at the free level, right?
I
Like
love that.
most of these organizations have associations,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
I can just go with myself for speaking, right? Professional speaking. I
Mhm.
started with Toastmasters.
Mhm.
And when I got in the Toastmasters arena, that's when I met someone who trained professional speakers. And I
Oh, awesome.
took his class, and then everybody kept telling me, "Oh, you need to be in the National Speakers Association." So I did that,
Mhm.
and I just kept meeting. So I think if you get into the arena, find an association for the business
Yeah.
that you're thinking
Yeah.
about getting into, and then a lot of times the mentors, I don't. For me, a lot of the mentors just started showing up, and one of the great mentors and coaches I've had is someone named Ed Tate. He he won the world championship of public speaking for Toastmasters years ago. He's this big rock star, but
Mhm.
he didn't know me from a can of paint, but would have these hour and a half conversations with me.
That's awesome. That's
And
really
I'm like,
great.
I probably should be paying you. He's like, oh no, no, no.
That's awesome. That really is.
But
Yeah.
that there's no way in the world I would be where I am without him. And Dr. Willie Jolly's another one that comes to mind who
Mhm.
wrote the foreword to my book. But no,
Mhm.
mentors are key. But I think if you get into the arena, you increase your chances of finding
That's so
those
good.
individuals.
That's so good, Eric. But that's what you're doing now. I mean, you yourself, somebody who's listening right now, can be saying, well, Eric helped me when I joined his Facebook group. Eric, helped me when I read his book, right? So that's why what you're doing is key and important. I think that anytime that we get out of our own way to pour into someone else in any way that we can do that, because you're doing it through your podcast, your book, your public speaking, right? Your Facebook group, all of that stuff. So even if you reached one, Eric, you did your job. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't, if the one is paying attention, I always think about it this way: if that one is paying attention, that ricochet from that one is incredible, right? Your friend, rest his soul, impacted you, right?
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
look at what you've been doing since. It's kind of insane, right? How that moment, that impact of that moment of your friend impacting you has now had you on my show, now impacting over the 30,000 people that are downloading the episode, right?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
pretty
you
that's
you
pretty
bring up a great
amazing.
point, and that's why I
Yeah,
mean, I just learned you never know who's watching, who's
that's
listening.
right. That's right.
We get so caught. It's so easy to. And I've been guilty of this. It's so easy to get caught up in the numbers and the downloads
Mhm.
and the this and the that.
Mhm.
But it could be one download.
That's right.
You may change that person's life, or
Yep.
that one download can lead you to another opportunity that you couldn't have gotten to you by yourself.
Ain't that right? And that's very true, Eric, because and when I first started many years ago, and I only had like one or two downloads or whatever it was. Oh, it's so funny. But when I did, I remember the DM that came from that I was given a testimony of, my spiritual walk. And the person wrote to me and said that it transformed their life,
Mm.
right? And I never thought about it again. And then one day I'm at a Home Depot with my husband, and this gentleman just comes running to me, works at Home Depot, and stops. Excuse me, are you Neena Perez? I said, yeah. He goes, oh my gosh, you've changed my life. I didn't I mean, it
Oh,
was such a
wow.
blessing, right? He's like, I turned on this show, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. I said, all right, I'll listen to it. He said, I listen to you every week. I listen to every episode. It has changed my life, the life of my family. I've shifted the way I think. I just like sat there with tears in my eyes, right? Don't know this gentleman from a can of paint, right? So you never know, Eric. You just never know, right? So because we never know, let us know, Eric, how do we get in contact with you, right? Because you can't just
That
end
was
on you
good.
never know. You can't just end on that and then stop the recording. So, Eric, let us know how people can support you. I told you I had a lot of energy. I
I'm telling you.
forewarned you. I forewarned you. All right. So let's give us like where people can really work with you, like where they can maybe go and look at your Facebook group, look get your book, listen to your podcast, all that great stuff. So give us all of your handles.
So you can go to my website, ericmtwiggs.com, ERICM Twigs, TWIGGS.com, where you can pick up a copy of the book, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. It's in audio, it's on paperback and ebook
That's
format.
awesome. Mhm.
You can also go to the whatnowmovement.com. That's the website. You can
Oh,
go
okay.
to we have a Facebook group with the same name. You can join. I'll let you in. So definitely that's another place. And
That's
then
great.
don't forget to check out the 30-minute hour podcast.
Yeah, I love that. All right, talk about, I mean, I guess that's the whole point, right? Is also just taking all the time that you're wasting and really strategically putting it together for a 30-minute, for 30-minute hour. That's what it says to me. Like, let's get your valuable time back, right? That's awesome, Eric. You know what I'm saying? You just kicking butt and taking names. I got you. Well, Eric, you are a really wonderful to speak with. Thank you so much for being on Straight Talk and pouring into my audience. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And guys, I told you I found one for you. Here's Eric for you. So I'm going to make sure to link all of his information below so you guys can go ahead and work with him and get on his Facebook group and go on his, web page and all that great stuff and stop procrastinating already. Just get it done. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.